Sometimes you don't just hear a sound, you feel it. In your chest, in your bones. Like something pressing from the inside.
여기서 베이스를 느껴야 돼요. 뼛속에서부터 그게 좀 울려줘야 그게 살아있는 거지.
This happens near the end of the film. Jong-soo leaves Ben's party early but is caught by Ben in the garage. He comes to ask Ben about Hemi, but instead finds another girl like Hemi at his party, who is cheerful, traveling back from another country and from a lower social class. Jong-soo finds a watch and a cat that looks like Hemi's. By then, he already has the answer about Hemi. Ben tells Jong-soo to feel the bass. But what is the bass inside Jong-soo? These bass soundtracks were composed by Moog, a Korean film composer and former jazz bassist known for his minimalist, low-frequency scoring. He has created music for award-winning Korean films, such as I Saw the Devil, The Age of Shadows, and Silenced. Throughout the film, bass recurs in scenes when Jong-soo came to his father's house in Paju, when he watched Ben driving Hemi home, when he runs searching for a burned greenhouse. This is unusual compared to how music usually works in Burning. Most of the film's music has a clear source. For example, when Hemi dances at sunset, the track we hear, Miles Davis' Generic, plays from the speaker inside Ben's car. And in the cafe, the music comes from the speakers inside. These music fade naturally as songs end or as characters leave the space. The bass, however, works differently. It enters with no visible source in the environment. It appears out of nowhere and hovers like a vibration suspended in the air. So why bass? Why make it acousmatic? The acousmatic bass in Burning is not a simple soundtrack in the film, but turns the objectless anger into a rhythm that the human body can feel, a pressure that the audience can relate to. We hear it for the first time after Jong-soo sleeps with Hemi. On the bus to his father's house in Paju, the bass began to rise beneath the ambient noise. His father is facing trial for assaulting a civil servant because he cannot control his anger. For Jong-soo, this visit triggers a sense of duty to help his biological father, with resentment and disappointment at his father's violence. As the bass grows heavier, it shows the weight of anger on him. It rises like an emotion in his heart when he sees Paju, pressing it on the audience the way anger presses on Jong-soo himself. The bass returns when he watches Ben driving Hemi home. Driving alone through the night, the bass begins to pound again. Is it jealousy? The anger toward class difference? Disappointed in himself? Even Jong-soo can't tell. He doesn't know where his anger comes from. Ben, himself, society? When he is frustrated, the bass enters with no source and hovers in the air, just like his emotion that can be felt but does not have a clear object. Therefore, Burning makes anger audible through the acousmatic bass that surrounds Jong-soo when he is alone, reminding the audience that his anger is real even when its object remained unclear. We can see this most clearly in the running scene. The scene opens before sunrise as a quiet Paju. As Jeonsu's footsteps draw closer and his breathing grows heavier, a low bass emerges and mixes with the ambient noise. It comes from nowhere, like his uncertainty that grows as he runs. He does not know whether Ben burned a nearby greenhouse or if his greenhouse theory refers to others, like Hami. Jeonsu runs without answers, and the bass becomes the sound of his uncertainty and anger that the audience can feel. The bass gradually covered his breath and footsteps, suggesting his emotions have overtaken his body and perception of the environment. When he passes a house, the barking of a dog pulls him back to the reality, and the bass weakens. When a man from the house asks what he is doing, Jeonsu replies,
그냥 보는 거예요.
His vague answer mirrors the acousmatic sound. Finally, when he calls Hami, a mechanical voice answers.
있어 게이트 이후 소리샘 퀵보이스로 연결되오며 통화료가 부과됩니다.
At that moment, the bass stops abruptly, not fading out but cut short by the call. His emotions are pushed down as well. He stops thinking about Ben's theory of burning greenhouses, and his thoughts are pulled back to the present. This means Jeonsu's anger never finds release or a clear outlet. It is simply pressed down again, waiting to surge back in another solitary moment. In this way, the scene shows the larger pattern of the film's use of bass. It rises as Jeonsu's anger articulates, then stops when reality intrudes, turning emotion into something that the audience can hear. This rise-stop pattern repeats across the film. For example, the bass enters on Jeonsu's way to Paju and then cuts off when he looks at old family photos. He stops at one picture where he is riding on his father's shoulders. His father smiles. Maybe it reminds him of a flash of warmth and happiness. At that moment, the bass stops. The photo pulls him out of anger and helplessness. Later, when Jeonsu sets fire to a greenhouse to test Ben's theory, the bass comes back. But as flame burns his hand, the sound is cut short. Reality interrupts and pushes his emotions back. Each time the bass appears, the emotions are never resolved or fade out naturally. It just drops out, leaving his anger pressed back inside. Through this repetition, the film turns bass into a form of emotional repression. The bass inside Jeonsu not only represents his individual emotional repression, but also a reflection of a broader social phenomenon. In an interview with Korean philosopher Kim Yo-ok, director Lee Chang-dong points out,
것 중에 하나는 사람들이 왜 이렇게 화를 내고 있나?
Today, people are angry.
각각의 이유로 각각의 대상도 없어요. 그냥 화가 나 있는 거예요.
People are angry, but without a specific target. They just feel that something is wrong with the world, yet they can't tell what is it or what to do. This misplaced or objectless anger is everywhere. In Korea, many young people face high unemployment and blocked mobility. No matter how hard they work, they still can't see their path upward. This reality leaves them powerless and angry. We see the same tension in Jeonsu's attitude toward Ben.
위대한 개츠비네.
무슨 말이야?
뭐 하는지는 모르겠는데 돈은 많은 수수께끼에 젊은 사람들. 한국에는 개츠비들이 너무 많아.
Why can someone live with such wealth? Where does their money come from? And why can't I get there too? Is the problem me, or is it society? Most people never find an answer. Maybe they're even afraid of what the answer might be. So they keep circling back to the same questions and then push the anger back down. That's where the film's acousmatic bass comes in. Like a sound with no source, the anger in young people's heart has no object in society to be released. As Lee Chang-dong says, the world looks like a mystery, while I feel more and more powerless. The bass gives that mystery a physical form. It grows during moments of frustration, then cuts off the instant reality intrudes. In this way, burning turns a generational pressure that never finds release into a sound.